Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ultimate Health Summit. I'm Karen King, and along with my co-host Selma from Radis, we're delighted to have Dr. Katharina Johnson with us. Dr. Katharina is the unique combination of medical doctor and medical intuitive. She's an energy healing expert, author, and international workshop leader. After a spiritual awakening experience, Katharina gained the intuitive ability to see the energy of another person and link it to their state of emotional and physical health to get to the root of the problem. Through this work, Katharina realized that in order to truly heal, one must take all aspects of the self into consideration. The physical, energetic, emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of a person all play a role in the healing process. Katharina's passion and life mission is to teach people how they can use energy work to heal themselves. She loves teaching the scientifically proven energetic consciousness raising and practical tools for self-healing. She's the creator of the amazing Energy Cure and Awakening Your Inner Healer, life-changing online programs that have helped hundreds of people from around the world. She also works with clients one-on-one all around the world. Katharina graduated in 2001 with high honors from a prestigious medical school in Austria, where she received a license to practice family medicine. She also holds a certificate of postgraduate education in orthomolecular medicine and studied acupuncture and various other forms of alternative healing, including energy psychology, detoxification, and shamanism. Her work has been featured in Austrian and U.S. media. She lives part of the year in Austria, lucky girl, and San Francisco. Again, we're just really delighted to have you here, Katharina. Welcome to the Ultimate Health Summit.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be with you tonight.
Wonderful.
Oh, excited to him live from Austria. Ooh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So, Katharina, you are probably one of only a few people in the world who have both medical degrees in family medicine and a medical intuitive. Now, this unique combination really allows you to see health challenges in a truly holistic way. Now, talk to us about earlier in your life about your spiritual awakening experience that really changed your life forever.
Wow, we're gonna just jump right into. That's great. When I was 16, basically, it was very interesting because I didn't have like spiritual concepts at this time. And I was just looking in the mirror. I was just ready to go out with my friends. And I looked myself in the eye. It was very interesting. And it was almost like I was sucked into another dimension. And I heard that voice, "Who are you? Who are you?" And it was like a portal opened. And then I realized that who I thought I was, like Katharina, being 16, doing all these things, the labels that we put on ourselves, that it's just a role I'm playing, but that's not who I am really am. And I realized that I'm spirit and I'm connected with that spirit that is everything, right? So I think, it's really hard to talk about it and to explain it, but that's what happened. And I think at the time when I was 16, I couldn't really make much sense of it because it was so sudden, it was so abrupt, and I didn't have anyone to talk about it with. But later on in my life, when I really became interested in spirituality and had also other awakening experience where it was more subtle, but where the ego dropped, the chatter that we have in our mind, that's when I really realized, okay, I can't just ignore this part of myself, because this other Katharina who I'm playing, it's not really me. So it's like a shift in consciousness that happens from your personality to who you think you are to something more integrated and connected. I think that's a way of putting it.
Mm-hmm. But you talked also about your biggest experience was, I think, in 2009, and you had another spiritual awakening experience that lasted for 2 whole weeks. Now,
yes,
that must have been really mind-blowing for you.
Yes, in a good way. Yeah, and at that point, in my life, I was really distressed psychologically because I had all these thoughts about myself, where I was thinking I need to be in my life. I was very dissatisfied with everything. So my mind was really, really dark. And there was a point where I just had so much internal suffering from the mind, not from the outer circumstances, but from my mind that was giving me all these thoughts that everything that's wrong with myself in life, that I just surrendered. I literally surrendered. It was not a conscious decision I made, but it was just so much that I was like, okay, please take this from me. And I completely just surrendered to it being the way it was. And in that moment, it was like everything lifted, that density lifted. I just started laughing. You know, my husband was next to me. He looks at me and I was just bursting out in tears for joy and laughter because, again, I realized the Katharina with all her problems, that's not me.
Right.
It's like, you know, I just tried, tried to explain it to my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, imagine you are in a movie theater and you are watching a movie, you're so engrossed in that movie that you completely forget that you are actually sitting.
Watching it, eating popcorn.
Right. And the movie that's playing out is your life that you think you're living. And then when the curtain falls, when the movie is over, you realize, oh, I'm actually sitting here, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really how it was, that it's again this shift in consciousness and perception. It's a shift in perception. It was really nice for 2 weeks. I was it was really yeah.
And so you're
Yeah.
grateful that you went through that time, you know, because without that surrender, you wouldn't have come to that realization, right?
Absolutely. It's the surrender and it's the resistance we have towards what is, you know, that really creates the suffering in our bodies, in our mind. If we can accept and surrender to what is, we don't suffer. We can still have pain, but we don't suffer anymore. It's a concept that maybe sounds odd in the beginning, but it's really like that. And I always say to also people I work with, surrendering doesn't mean you have given up, or it doesn't mean you're not trying to change the situation, but it really means that you accept in that very moment this is what's happening, and then the mind usually stops resisting.
But you went through 2 autoimmune diseases, right? So did this surrendering, did it help you, you know, get through this very difficult time in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Because also with autoimmune disease, with any chronic illness, I mean, there's so much resistance in the body, right? Because you don't want to have that illness. You create a mental concept of how it's supposed to be. You're actually pushing against it. And with healing, it's really the opposite. I mean, healing really means to make whole again. And here the acceptance plays a huge role, because once we accept, we don't separate it from us anymore. It's not like this is the illness, the disease, and this is me. You incorporate it's okay, like this is what's happening right now, and once you start giving it love, it starts changing. And that's also what people, they often are very surprised when they have even a tumor or so, and say, Katharina, how can I give the tumor love? Will it grow? And I said, no, quite the opposite, right? You need to make whole again to love what is. And then usually, not always, but many, many times, it starts healing. Yeah.
That's a really difficult concept for people to wrap their heads around, right? That is so hard. But really it shouldn't be. So if you could almost picture, let's say, a tumor as a flower that's growing, or a weed, you know, that's kind of growing out of control, you still want to honor it as part of nature, right? And maybe in that respect, it would be easier to love.
Yeah, you know, I always say also to everyone who has a chronic illness, and nowadays we are really seeing such a rise in chronic illness, which Western medicine doesn't have an answer to, rather than suppressing with drugs. Every illness is also is a message from your body, right? Because people usually see their body as their enemy, especially when it's sick, and they don't want to have anything to do with it. They cut it out, give me something, make it go away. But again, when it comes to healing, we need to take an opposite approach. We're like, okay, the body's just showing me that somewhere I'm out of balance. It could be mentally, it could be emotionally, maybe I'm stuck maybe in a job that I hate and I have this passion for life that I can't live. So there are ways, I also teach this in my courses, where you can learn to get in contact with the symptom and see it as your friend, a messenger, right? We don't need to kill the messenger. So when we see the messenger and we get the message, we can start changing. And when we start changing and listen to the message, the message has been set, the body has done its job of alerting us, hey, you're out of balance.
Right. Interesting.
Okay, but so Karen was mentioning about the tumor here. You wrote an interesting blog, which I really, really like. It says, don't fight against your disease. You mentioned, reading a sign that says, join the fight against cancer. And you said you cringe because it's not all about the fight against what we don't like, what scares us and harms us. It's not about joining forces to try to make things better, is it? It's about the attitude, right? So talk to us about that.
Yeah, that's
really an important point.
The attitude. So we're seeing this war on drugs, war on cancer. There's always war, right?
Yes.
So if we are at war with our bodies, again, we're putting resistance to it. Everything's energy, our thoughts, emotion, our body. When it comes down to it, everything is energy and vibration. If we don't want something to happen and we push energetically with our thoughts and emotions against it, we are creating even more of it. And that's why I don't like the war on cancer, because we're putting so much negative energy into it that it's going to start becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's interesting because we're really seeing this, right? When we have a war on cancer, war on drugs, we get more of it, what we don't want.
Right.
So it's all about,
but what I think too, because those issues are such money makers. Cancer is a big money maker. Fundraising, you've got breast cancer awareness and the run for this, a run for the cure, a run for that. And it's all about people donating, right? And so they're using that fear tactic in the media as a way to generate, income for these fundraisers. And they're actually creating more of what it is they're saying that they're going to, cure.
Yeah, I don't know about the fundraisers. I think it's good if people donate if they want to donate, but really, again, it's the attitude. It's like, absolutely, you're totally right with the fear, right? Fear is a very powerful emotion. It's a very powerful energy.
Yeah.
You put fear into something, we really make it bigger.
Yes.
So again, bringing into harmony, it's just really, it requires a shift in awareness and consciousness. And that's what I'm trying to teach people also, because we are not at war with our bodies, right? We shouldn't be at war, but most people are, because that's what we've been taught all along, right? The way we are supposed to look, how our bodies are supposed to look like and perform. If we really feel cut off from our bodies. Yeah. But it's all one thing. So it's all about, again, bringing back together and loving what is.
Right. So, Katharina, energy medicine could actually be considered one of the earliest forms of medicine. Maintaining the health of the body's energies is cited to be over 5,000 years old. Tell us what energy medicine is to you and what power there is in all of us to heal ourselves.
It's a great question. Yeah, I think I'm so glad you mentioned this, because people think it's a new thing, energy medicine, but we had it for so long. For me, energy medicine is really realizing that we are all made up of energy. We are not this physical bodies. I mean, of course we have our physical bodies, but if you think about it, we have around 70 to 100 trillion cells in our body. I mean, that's really a lot. And every cell in the body creates around 100,000 chemical reactions per second. So if you just think how many reactions they're happening all the time at once, and we think about how can something coordinate this, everything like that.
Yeah.
I'm really to the conclusion, it's our spirit, it's the soul who really coordinates everything.
Oh.
And that's really what I've I've come to see, because this is such an intelligence that we can't really put our mind around it.
Mhm.
And when we go down, of course, the level, the molecular level, down, 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 at the end, it all comes in down to energy and vibration. There is really nothing physical about us. It's just an illusion of our five senses. You know, we get the vibration, we can feel that, we can feel the touch, but it's all just vibration and frequency. So if people understand, okay, we are actually energy beings, nothing is solid, it's just appears like this. And once they realize this, maybe they also start realizing, okay, I have also power, because my mind is a very powerful tool. My mind is energy, it's a pure source of energy. My emotions is energy. If I can start changing the way I think, the way I feel, I can change my physiology, because it's all energy. And nowadays, which I really love, is that nowadays we also have these sciences of the epigenetic science,
Yes.
Mhm, mhm.
right, where it says that our blueprint, the way we come into this world with our genes, it's not set in stone on how these genes operate in our bodies. You can have a cancer gene, but it never activates, so you're going to be healthy the whole your entire life. And the research shows that changing your emotions, changing your way you think through meditation has profound effects on the epigenetic readout. So you can literally change how your body operates in just a few weeks. And so it's a long answer for your question, but I think that's all energy medicine, because we are energy, right?
Mhm. Well, even Dr. Oz, wasn't he? Yeah, he talked about the energy, medicine is the future.
Right.
I absolutely agree, and because I think what's happening now also in the technology world, where they're going towards quantum computing, and Google works on it, they're going to also realize and look into, we are actually our bodies, how they work. It's a quantum field. It's a quantum computer, I wouldn't say, but it works on this quantum level. And I totally think that there will be a time, maybe we will experience, but where they're just going to change your vibration, maybe in a through technology, who knows, that will affect your cells at a very deep level. You know, we have lasers who can do this also a little bit right now, but I think that's where we're going. I totally think so.
Mhm.
I like that. It's actually very, hopeful information, because everybody can change their thoughts and emotions. Might just take a little bit getting used to how to do that, but if
Yes.
you can change your physiology by changing those two things, I think there's a lot of hope for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, it's not set in stone. We can change. I mean, change is sometimes, it requires effort, but nowadays there's so many good tools and techniques. It doesn't take that long.
Mhm.
If someone really wants to, it can be rather quick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
share with us, in your work as a medical intuitive, Katharina, also, you're able to look into the body, right? And you can, evaluate its energetic levels. Explain to us this process. And also answer, does everyone have a signature vibration that is different from anybody else?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, for sure. So I'm going to explain real quick how this works. Usually people come to me, they have either a chronic illness, or they have an emotional problem and they don't know what else to do. They find me and then I do my readings. I do them remotely, and basically I just close my eyes and go into a meditative state, because my consciousness then is broader than now when we just talk. And then I do see the energy body. So I always start with that, start looking into the energy centers, because they give me the most information. So when I read someone, it's definitely, everyone has a different energy structure, but it can change very quickly too. Again, if you do energy work, any type of healing work will change your signature quite a bit. And when I do take a look, I can see that in the energy centers, where the blocks are. You know, they could be emotional, they could be mental, they could be even coming from your field, from your family field. You know, here it is in Europe, we are I think, more aware of this because there is a quite famous healing modality. It's called family constellation, where you literally can see the energy, how it runs in a family. So in other words, yeah, if let's say someone had a trauma in your family happening, and we had this in Europe quite a bit with the Second World War, right? On both sides, lots of trauma. The energy of the trauma doesn't just evaporate. It's in the field. And so people can get sick generations afterwards if they have that trauma energy in their family. And so, but it doesn't need to be generational only. Of course, if you have a trauma that happened to you and it's not released, I can quickly see it in the energy body, and I can link it to physical problems, right? I also do a look into the physical body if there's something lacking nutrient-wise, all those things. But, you know, I've been doing these readings now for over 10 years, and I've come to realize that I would say 99% of all illnesses that we have are related to negative emotions that are not released, or negative patterns of thinking. You know,
99% is a high percentage. That's a very high.
I know. I mean, yeah. I mean, the CDC says, you know, the Center for Disease Control, even they say on their website, 80% of all illness is connected to stress, right? We know stress comes from negative emotions. I do think it's higher because we don't, I mean, of course, if you're lacking vitamin C, you're going to get sick, but we don't see these type of illnesses usually. So I can only say from my work doing this for 10 years, it's a very, very high percentage for sure. Mm-hmm.
So Katharina, where would you see this? You know, like you're talking about the family, you know, like maybe the genetic connection there of trauma. So where would this be in the body? Where do you see this? Is it in the heart? Is it in the brain? Or, you know?
It's a good question. I mean, it depends what type of trauma is. You know, I always start looking at the energy centers at the chakras, because they work like software disks. You know, they store information there, and they also give the energy to the surrounding organs. So if an energy center is blocked, I know that the organs will suffer too, and I can then trace it back. So it depends what type of trauma it is. If it's it has to do maybe someone losing a loved one, it can be in the heart. If it's sexual in nature, it's probably in the second chakra, in the pelvis. But then I can also take a look into the ancestors and trace it back from where it originates. And of course, we can work on it energetically to release it, because otherwise, why do it, right? So that's the whole point of it. Yeah.
Well, this is quite fascinating.
It's interesting. My mom brought up this this thing yesterday. She thought, because, you know, she grew up in the war, as many people did. And during the war, she was sent to Austria as a young child, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the children of Berlin during the war were shipped different places, right, to keep them safe. And then the family stayed in, for example, the big cities. And so here's my mom at, I think she was 10, shipped to Bad Ischl in Austria, with a strange family, didn't know them from at all, and is left to live with them for 2 years. And she develops asthma at that point in her life. And it's been with her all her life. So her question is, you know, all of these Europeans that went through the war, and probably, you know, other people that have gone through other wars and traumatic situations, they're still here, maybe not 100% healthy, but, you know, they did it all without energy medicine. They did it, you know what I'm saying? So she said, I'm trying to think of how she placed that question. But, you know, they all managed to survive through it. You know, so many survived, even though they've been through trauma. They didn't have counseling. They didn't have energy release. So she's wondering how you would explain that.
Well, you know, it depends. I mean, if everyone's different, so some person can get really sick if they have huge trauma in their history, or they experience it themselves. Some get asthma, right? A lot of people are okay living with asthma. They have the spray and they go on living with it.
Yeah.
You know, other people might get some more severe illness. I'm not saying that every time you get an illness, but often when they're when people have tried a lot of things and nothing worked. Because usually people try other things first, right? They go to Western doctor, they go maybe acupuncture, nutrition, which is all fine. But what I've just seen is if nothing works, then often doing it on the energetic level really helps.
Okay.
Because it's better than that, right?
Right.
So with your mother, for example, it could very well be that if the trauma is released, you know, it's interesting because every organ also is very connected to an emotion. So asthma is of course lungs, right? Lungs have to do with grief. Asthma is the air trapped in the lungs. It's not people think they can't breathe in, but it's really they can't exhale, and that's why the lung is that they can breathe in. It's often a feeling also that goes with it of being trapped.
Ah.
So that would be something to ask her, for example, did you feel trapped then? How, you know, if that's a pattern for her, and if you release that, people start healing emotionally first before they start healing physically. That's what I'm seeing. The physical is always the last level to respond. You're first the mental, emotional, and then at the end the physical.
Okay. It's interesting. But, you know, I said to her, I said, obviously it's the trauma associated with not seeing your family for 2 years, being with a strange family who does things like mountain climbing, which you didn't do in Berlin. Do you know what I'm saying? That, you know, that just the grief of like, are you ever going to see your family again? And I'm sure so many people have been through that. But, you know, of course, because she's my mom, I get that firsthand. But yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people that go through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So Katharina, what is the number one thing we need to do in order to heal ourselves? And you also talk about if we fail to implement this step, nothing will work. What is the number one thing we need to know? Well,
you know, I usually I would start like that. If you have an illness, you're suffering from an illness, the first thing that it's needed is increased awareness, right? So I would always say to everyone who has an illness or suffers from an illness to ask yourself, what happened prior to becoming sick? Where was my life out of balance? Where did I have enormous amounts of stress? Because if you ask someone who has a chronic illness, they usually can tell you, yeah, in the year or maybe even 2 years prior to it, I had huge amounts of stress. Usually it's like a year to it. So then I would tell them, okay, that stress, is it from a situation or is it from a way of thinking, of feeling? Usually it's a combination. Then I would tell them, okay, can you change something about the situation? Often people can't change their situation. Then you can ask yourself, how can I start feeling about this differently? How can I start shifting my mind, my attitude around it? And we get back at acceptance. How can I start doing that? I mean, these of course are not generic answers, and everyone's a little bit different, but it's a good starting point. But when it comes to healing yourself and you start increasing your awareness, one thing that is really, really important, I think it's the number one thing, is that people need to know that we have our nervous system, who is really connected to every cell in our body. Is very important. It's the most important thing for healing. And we have two parts of this autonomic nervous system, which one is the stress response, is the fight and flight response, and the other one is the parasympathetic. That's the one that heals us. So when people have huge amounts of stress, that sympathetic nervous system is constantly switched on. And when we have constantly switched on, eventually the body will break down. You will get sick. That's just a matter of fact. And here the number one thing is really to make sure that your relaxation, your time for yourself, anything you can do that you have, anything that you can do to make your body relax is the number one thing. You can't heal without not relaxing. It's not possible, because it's an either or switch, meaning that if you're a little bit stressed, you are already in sympathetic drive. The parasympathetic will be off. It's an either or. So the number one thing is really making it a priority to find ways to relax yourself. And you know, different things work differently for people. Some like to do yoga, some do meditation, some do walking, seeing friends, being in nature, taking a bath, whatever it is for yourself.
Right.
It's a priority. Mm-hmm.
Relaxation. Okay.
Yeah. It's as simple as that, but sometimes it's not simple when we're so stressed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Tell us how people would tap into their intuition to get their own answers that they need.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
How would people tap into their own intuition? They're not an energy healer like you. How would people access that knowing so that they could start making the right choices for themselves?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's a great question. Again, there are different techniques and also guided meditations where you can learn how to do this. But the number one thing is with intuition here is that if you see it like that, we have two hemispheres in the brain, right? We have the left and the right.
Yeah.
We have one that's for logic and reasoning, and usually that's the one we've always turned on because we have been so trained to constantly think that we can't hear our intuition. You know, the other part of the brain, the other hemisphere is for, as the right one, it is for intuition, creativity, all those things, right? So it's the same with creativity. If you're highly stressed, you can't be creative, right? So again, if you find ways to relax, and meditation is really, really good for that, because you can quiet your mind a little bit or have your mind chatter but not pay so much attention. And then work with your heart chakra. So that's the energy of the heart. If you focus on that and you breathe in and breathe out through that. And I don't know if we have time at the end because I could show this exercise also. But
Yes.
yeah, great. Then that's also a good way of just starting to listening, because our intuition is really always talking to us. We're just not listening because our mind is so busy. And I always say, if you want to start training your intuition, start with small things. For example, with yes or no questions. For example, if you want to go to a movie and you don't know, maybe you have a few movies to pick from, just center yourself, focus on your heart, just breathe into it, and then ask yourself, is this in my highest interest or not to see this movie? And then just focus here on this area. Does it constrict? Does it open? Maybe people hear a yes, people hear a no, maybe it's a neutral thing. So just to develop this type of sensitivity and then act upon it. That's very important. Otherwise, you don't have a learning effect. And do this with small things first.
Right.
So it's again, listening, it's this sensitivity we have to develop.
Right. Right. And so a lot of people would say, well, I don't feel anything. I don't hear anything. And so it's just practice, right? Practice makes perfect.
It is practice. It is practice. And, you know, intuition is not, we are also so used with our minds to go and make things happen, to have a plan, go forward. So it's a very active way of seeing. If you see it like an energy, you're just moving something, right, with your mind. With intuition, it's the opposite. I would say you have to relax. You have to let it come to you. It's an opposite way of being. Right? And that's it. It takes practice because we are so used to doing and making things happen. And with intuition, you have to allow. That's always the I say.
Yeah.
Allow it to come to you, and it will come to you.
Right.
And Katharina, too, we have to get out of that mind, right? And as you say here, center it into the heart. That's a big one, right? Because that is, you know, that's our major system, right?
Yeah, and you know, there is the Institute of Heart Math, which are really like they're doing research on the energy centers and especially on the heart. And they have found that the heart is the biggest energy field in the body. It's even bigger than 5,000 times bigger than the brain. And that when the heart and the brain are in sync, meaning that they have the same frequency, we are so much more productive, we're happy, we have intuition, everything flows. And it's something everyone can practice, and I'm going to show you at the end how to do it. It's so simple, and you can, again, put your body into this healing mode very quickly. That's why I love this exercise so much.
Well, what do you think, Karen? Is that a good time now to do that?
Why wait for spring? Well, let's do it now. That's
right. We are ready.
All right, great. So I suggest doing this exercise anytime you feel stressed. anytime you want to increase your productivity, your creativity, maybe your intuition, or just feel good, right? So I'm just going to guide you through. What I want you to do is close your eyes.
Okay.
Great. And first, just take a few deep breaths into your chest and exhale any type of stress you have, any thoughts that are in your mind. Just try to let them be. And in this exercise, we're going to harmonize the heart with the brain. And the first step of this exercise is to just become aware of your heart. So I'm not talking about the physical heart, I'm talking about your energetic heart. It's the heart chakra right in the middle of the chest. And just focus your awareness there. And then imagine you are gently breathing in and breathing out through your heart. And whenever you imagine something, do it without effort, do it naturally and easily. You don't need to push anything. Just allow it to happen. Wonderful. Just breathe in and breathe out through the heart. And now what I want you to do is I want you to use your mind just for the time being. I want you to think about a time in your life when you felt good. It could be an event or an experience you made where you felt joy, love, or happiness. And I give you a moment right now to just recall that experience. And if you have that experience, I want you to try if you can connect to how you felt back then. And again, allow it to happen. Maybe you can feel it strongly, maybe you cannot feel it right now, that's fine too, but maybe you can feel it slightly. So it could be joy, laughter, happiness, love. And again, allow that emotion to come to you. It's all stored inside your body. Let's just allow that memory to come to the surface. And if you can feel it just a slight bit right now, I want you to imagine that right now you are breathing this emotion, this wonderful emotion, through your heart, in and out through your heart. Breathe gently in and out. And maybe you can feel now that this emotion becomes stronger anytime you breathe in and out, filling your chest with this wonderful emotion. And if this emotion had a color, I'm wondering what color that would be. Just to see what comes in your mind's eye. What color does it have? Any color that comes to you is right. There's no wrong answer. And lastly, visualize that color with this beautiful emotion. Breathe it, being breath in through the heart and out. So breathe it in and out, the emotion connected with that color. When you do this, you're harmonizing your heart and the brain. With every breath that you do this, you become more and more relaxed because you're harmonizing your entire field. And ideally, you do this for at least 10 minutes. I know we don't have that time right now, so this is now, exercise is over. I just showed you how to do it. But ideally, you do this for at least 10 minutes, right? So when you have recalled the emotion, you breathe it in, breathe it out. You really want to give yourself 10 to 15 minutes to experience it. So it's very
pretty
simple.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
Did you
like
like
that.
it?
It's interesting. My wedding day came up as the memory.
Oh, great. Great. And what color did you have?
It's actually a lime green, like a green with yellow mix, right?
Okay, great.
Well, I had my four-legged companion, Otelia, and I had the color red.
Wonderful.
She had the little, always the little coat, the red, and wow, it's like,
Yeah, and if you have some more time, you can even allow that color to fill your entire body, right? So it's just amazing how much time
very
you
nice.
have.
Very nice. It was.
Thank you for sharing that. I think everybody that's watching this will get a lot of value from that.
Absolutely. Okay, Katharina, if people want to achieve ultimate health, live life well right now, maybe review 3 things or strategies that they can do right now to start achieving it.
Okay. Well, the first strategy definitely is do something like what I just showed you, because when you go into the feeling of love, excitement, or emotion, immediately you start healing. Literally, your body is going into healing mode. That's what just happened.
Okay.
So that's definitely something I would suggest. I mean, we don't need to talk about, I think, exercise and nutrition, because usually people know what that is, what good nutrition, good exercise is. But I think one very important thing is also to ask yourself, what gives me joy? Why do I even live, right? People are so busy all the time. They have their schedules that they're forgetting to live. They're really forgetting to live. So I would ask myself, what makes me happy? How can I achieve that happiness? What's my purpose here, right? What's my purpose here? And then also, lastly, what a lot of people forget is we need social support. We need our friends. We need our family. I do see this a lot in the States, because I think people move so much. In Europe, people don't move as much, so they have a bigger circle of friends or maybe close friends. But all the studies they all show you can eat badly, you can have bad diet, no exercise. If you have a good support system, if you have social life, friends that have meaning to you, and you can connect to them, you're pretty much, I wouldn't say immune, but you're much, much healthier compared to a group that might eat well, do all the exercise, but is very lonely. We're social, right? Yeah.
And Katharina, when we have crisis in our lives, or like crisis in countries like the latest with the Manchester bombings and everything else, to see that great influx of people coming together with the candles, holding hands. I mean, the crying, and, that is such a moment about social connection right there. I was watching that, and I was so moved by people's reactions to each other, complete strangers, and in hugs, and I could just feel.
I'm just getting goosebumps you saying it, because that's really what this is. We are in this together. We are not isolated.
Yes.
Right? And it's,
yeah,
absolutely. So healing.
I love that. It's all about social connection. So it was wonderful to touch base with you, Katharina, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. We really appreciate you and all the fine work that you do.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful to be able to talk to you too, and to share a little bit of what I know.
Yes, yeah, and that's a lot of information.
A lot of information. But before we really wrap up here, I just want to read some testimonials from people that work for you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Dr. Brigitte Esse, Katharina carries the rare gift of true intuitive insight. Her work being close to the miraculous, Katharina clears the blockages, the outcomes over time being physical healing or graceful transformation of life events. I highly recommend her. Kimberly Carter Gamble says, Katharina's teaching is so empowering. She combines the benefit of her allopathic medical education, her energy healing experience, and her well-honed intuition to create an unusually integrated offering. I love her transparency. She doesn't just give you the knowledge and advice. She truly empowers each of us to create a new level of health for ourselves that will last our lifetimes. I wholeheartedly recommend Katharina's work to everyone. Really, bravo. And so, Katharina, you've put a wonderful program together for our audience and for those listening. Anybody that wants to go further with your work, could you tell us a little bit about your special offer, the Amazing Energy Cure?
Yes. So the Amazing Energy Cure is a program that teaches people how to use energy medicine in their life in order to have more energy, to be more productive. You know, you can do more things if you have more energy, to be able to clear your blocks that you might have. You know, we all have them, and just be more joyful and transform even problems, because everything again is energy. And it maybe sounds complicated, but it's really not. I've made it as easy as possible to people, and I've also made this in a way that even busy people can do this. It consists of 12 audios, where every audio is around 20 minutes.
Okay.
And 5 modules where there is a teaching in the beginning where I explain why we do certain things and people can get the information. But the main part are the guided healing meditations. And because we know that meditating is so important, we know it can change your epigenetics, it can make you happier, healthier, doing all these things. When we meditate and we direct our focus and awareness onto our bodies or things that we want to change in our life, we can really affect our energy body, because the energy flows where attention goes, right? And usually when I say meditation, people cringe. I'm sorry, people cringe because
they think they have to sit cross-legged.
I know, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. All you need to do is put on your headphones, because I've recorded all these meditations with a wonderful technology which is called brainwave entrainment technology, or binaural beats. Which is wonderful, because what it does is it plays frequencies of background music into different frequencies into the right and the left ear, and your marvelous brain will calculate this phase difference. I know it sounds complicated, but it's not, and will start lowering your brain waves into the alpha and theta state, all without any effort on your part.
Okay.
That's the good thing. So that's why people love these meditations, because they say, Katharina, I can't meditate. I have never been able to meditate, but I just put on these headphones. And I said, yes, it's because when you are in a stress mode, which we have the brain waves, right? You are in high beta, and then you put on your headphones and listen to this, your brain will automatically go into this alpha and theta state. And we know also from the research that the alpha and theta state is also the state in which our body heals ourselves.
Okay.
So that's just a little overview. But basically, I will teach people how to increase energy, work with their chakras, how they can transform energetic blocks. So if you have something that you're struggling with from the past, you can learn to let go of this. You can learn to increase your heart field. Is kind of similar exercise we did, but to really get into the heart space, let go of stress and worry, and also have bonus for people who have hard time sleeping. There is also something on. We have also a lot of bonus programs, but I'm not sure if you want to go over everything, because it's pretty.
It's intense. And so for anybody that's inspired to go further with Dr. Katharina's work, we just encourage you to press the special offer button on this page, and you're on your way. And I'm just going to read one more here. I can assure you Katharina's teachings will change the way you see your life and health, and will help you heal on many different levels. Katharina puts the power back to where it belongs, to you. Thank you, Katharina, for sharing your wisdom with us. And I wished everybody had the possibility to go through this life-changing experience. And that's from Sonia. Thank you. Thank you for providing that for our listeners. They're going to get a lot of value from that. And I want to I want to thank all of our viewers, our listeners for joining us. And until next time, live life well.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.